We are live.
All right, time is now 5:31 on October 25th, and we will call this special call meeting or the regularly scheduled meeting of the Calvert City Board of Adjustments to order. First item on our agenda is approval of minutes from the September 29th, 2022 special call meeting. Do we have a motion concerning those minutes? Motion that be accepted as read or second?
I think Willie's all here. Hang on.
Hold on for a second.
Well, that should be. Pick up anything on the wall. When it comes in there and just say all in favor.
Yeah.
No. She's not working. I know it's coming home. It's just not blinking. Or Abraham or any of the rest of them. Huh? That's a good question. Well, they will change the channel. Okay. Huh. All right. Turn on, test yours. Now test it.
Hello. Hello.
Who's next? VFW, okay. Okay, well, it's not working. For whatever reason.
15 style weapon and 600 rounds of ammunition. Police say the suspect ordered a Harris shooting rampage could have been even
Might
worse.
want me to.
Officers who already happened to be in the area for another event said he arrived on scene within 5 minutes of the first 911 call.
I'll do it for him.
There you go. All right. All right, Willie, we have a motion and a second on the minutes. We're fixing to take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There we go. And that's unanimous. All right, only item on our agenda, old business, is that they on Mega Fitness Meals LLC.
Greg, do you want to start off? You want me to?
Greg is muted, Greg.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. I would suggest, John, that for everybody that doesn't have a copy, if you could get a copy of the August minutes. August was when Chip Adams presented the application for the conditional use permit for MegaFit Meals. And the minutes are fairly complete. And the list of items to be discussed, the list of items that you guys discussed and requested additional information on prior to making a ruling are all listed in about 8 bullet points in those minutes. And that seems to me to be an organized way to approach the question. Is anyone there tonight for MegaFit Meals?
Yeah, Billy is here, and also, I'm not sure who BDW iPhone is.
Bacon farmer, maybe.
Well, VFW would be that. No, it's just, it may be on there wrong. It may be Bacon Farmer. I don't know. Let me see if I can identify who that is. I'll have to unmute him.
Well, as we discussed,
It's Bruce.
Oh, Bruce,
It's
okay.
Bruce.
Well, that would be Mr.
Yeah.
Wilkins. That would be Mr. Wilkins. I keep forgetting. Okay, thank you, Bruce.
In August, when we addressed the conditional use permit application, we identified that you guys have to make a decision for or against on that application by the date of the third regular meeting following the hearing. So that will be the regular meeting in November. You've got to say thumbs up or thumbs down on this application. The issues, and you guys don't have the August minutes in front of you, do you? Let me just quickly run through these issues for you, just so that you know what was on the table at the time. Chip announced that the largest shift of employees was 45 people, sometimes working 3 shifts. Mr. Ward explained that there are 59 parking spaces, which is adequate under the circumstances. The second issue was regarding dumpsters. They are on a concrete pad with screening comparable to the surrounding businesses. That was that issue. The third issue was refrigerated shipping containers. And you guys expressed the desire that these be encompassed by a building expansion or very similar enclosure. The fourth item was identification of the species of trees that were to be located there. The fifth item was a recommendation that they present another depiction of the front of the building with more specific aesthetics. That is, you were looking for an actual depiction of the aesthetics on the front of the building. The sixth item was identification of any setbacks or indications of setbacks so that you would know whether or not a variance would be needed in order to accommodate any additional construction that was to take place, particularly on the front of the building. The seventh item was, it just says fence verification. I'm not sure what that was a reference to, but that was the fence. That was the seventh item. And the eighth item was door location. Those were the 8 items that were discussed for the conditional use. And then there was also some discussion of the encroachment on the north end of the property where the loading dock was constructed onto the city's property. And you guys recited a requirement that encroachment, that there would have to be an encroachment permit or a temporary encroachment agreement with the city accomplished before you guys could approve the conditional use permit. And I think, I personally don't know whether the mayor and Mr. Adams have discussed that item. No one has come to me with regard to an encroachment permit yet, or a temporary encroachment agreement. That's something that would have to be approved by the city council. But that no one has approached me with that, with such an agreement yet. And that's something that you guys said would have to be done before you could approve the conditional use permit. So those are the items that seem to be left unanswered and on the table at this point in time.
And so I guess my question is, do we have an answer to any of those guys?
Say that one more time. Do we have any answers?
That would probably be a question for Mr. Giorgio. That would be, those were all questions for the applicant to address. And I'm given to understand that their attorney is not going to be able to represent them in this matter, at least not between now and the end of November. And so I'm not sure what their intentions are with regard to substitute counsel or with presenting the additional information that you guys requested in order to consider the conditional use permit. But Mr. Giorgio may want to speak to that issue.
I mean, if you guys want to go by from the beginning on the questions, I can answer those for you.
That way I can hear you in the mic. They can't hear very well.
All right. The first one was.
The first one was, is it still 45 and is the largest shift? Is the application going to present that the largest shift will be 45 employees with possibly 3 shifts?
Yes, sir. And we also repaved the parking lot and painted new lines, and there is more than we need currently.
Okay, so the application needs to then reflect largest shift is 45 employees. Then the dumpsters, are the dumpsters actually on a concrete pad and have screening?
Yes, that's been done.
Okay, is the screening depicted on a, and I forgot what we call those things, elevations,
A site drawing.
thank you, drawing.
Dumpster pad was an issue, I think towards the beginning of all this, like over a year ago, which was done and completed. And I thought we were past that.
Well, I think that it shows on the site plan that the fence is there, but you just don't have an elevation of the fence to know what kind of look it is. Tell them what kind of fence you got around it.
It's a chain fence with the slats through it, so you can't see the dumpsters. And it completely wraps them, top, sides, everything. You cannot see the dumpsters.
Those, Mr. Giorgio, what we're looking for is to get the application in full form so that when they address the application, they will either approve it or disapprove it based on the actual application. So we'll need to get whoever the architect is or whoever's drawing this thing to depict those elevations with this particular issue, showing where the dumpsters are located and what the screening looks like or is proposed to look like, so that there's a record on the application of what's being presented.
And the dimensions of it, I guess.
Right. And then the third item was the refrigerated shipping containers. And the board had expressed a desire that these be encompassed by a building expansion or a very similar enclosure. So we would also need for the elevations to be depicted however those refrigerated containers are to be enclosed. That would need to be shown on the elevations with an accurate aesthetic and also with dimensions. I assume that your architect does not yet have that done.
Probably not that portion.
Yeah, the engineer could probably pull that one.
Yeah, we will cover those freezers just like we did the dumpsters.
Okay, well, whatever it is that's being proposed needs to be proposed on the application so that the board can determine whether or not they approve that or not. But are you saying that your proposal is going to be to fence those?
Yes, sir.
Okay, board, if you guys want to address that, just for Mr. Giorgio's sake at this point, at your last meeting, you had expressed, well, in the August meeting and then again in the, I guess, September meeting, you guys had expressed some desire that you would like to see those refrigerator units encompassed inside the building. If that's a deal breaker, now would be a good time to express that.
I think it was just an aesthetic thing, and the screening fence is fine with me. Building. That's my thing.
If it's not in the building, I would want it enclosed. Sides, yes. What we discussed.
Billy, opinions?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with Jim that about the enclosure. One thing I would ask, if you all don't mind, is to speak into the mic a little more. I'm having a little bit of a difficulty hearing you all, but from what I heard of Jim, I mean, I very much echo Jim.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you very well either. So somebody wave at me when you're, after you've discussed whatever you're going to discuss. So I'll go to the next issue.
Closer to you.
Okay, Jim expressed that something more similar to a building. I mean, with a roof and fully.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's important that it has that the roof, that it's enclosed with a roof that matches the gray building, that, you know, so it looks like if somebody's coming off the Purchase Parkway, it looks like a building, like a large building versus a building with some fencing outside.
The next set of questions were in regards to the draft backside, front side, what trees were, trees picked in that we didn't know what trees would live in the places that we thought were now either concrete, asphalt, or rock.
And I think, Darren, that was based off a preliminary architect drawing that they had at the August meeting, I believe, is what we had those questions off of. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. So I was just wondering what more has been done there.
That was a rendering that we asked for a little more information on. And I can elaborate to some degree on this. I talked with Bobby Deach today, and he said that they still hadn't received anything back from the architect, and I made a recommendation. He might consider his own landscape architect within their company that might be able to put something out, because they've been waiting for 8 months to get something from this guy. So he's gonna work with them. But I told him, I said, we need something in 2 weeks, because turning it in at the last minute or at this next meeting is too late. That's the, so anyway.
The last meeting too, I'd requested that bud be done to see if there are underground utilities and stuff there, see if it can even be landscaped. I don't think bud has been done.
Well, I mean, they'll have to do that. They won't be able to do that before they get ready to do some more, but I mean, they can get some information
But
on
at
it.
least they can find out before they start showing trees.
Well, that's true too.
So.
Yeah, I think they can go on and do a bud, buried
Okay.
underground utility.
So just being realistic on that side of the building, there's a lot going on if any of you've driven by there. It's more realistic for me to put a screened fencing, however tall you guys want, across the entire side of that part of the building, to try to make it look with tree. I don't think that's going to be the answer, trees, and make it look like there's glass doors there and put awnings. I think that's just going to junk it up more personally for what we're doing. And, you know, when you pull into the main entrance of MegaFit, there's a beautiful sign. It's nice gray building. You see landscaping, and it's done right. And then this side's all screened in fencing. And then on this side, you got the parking lot with a brand new loading dock screened in, brand new parking lot. Everything's clean cut. We'll put the building over the freezers and put this to bed, because we've drug it on for over a year, it feels like, and I'm just ready to move on. I think just being realistic, if you go and you analyze that side of the building, there's so many units, and there's compressors. There's, you know, we take the trash out on that side of the building to take it to the dumpster pad. If we were completely fenced in and screened in as tall as you guys want, you know, we could draw that up, show you the elevations of that, the dumpster pad and the freezer. And I'd be happy to do that and move on. And at this point, we would have the entire surroundings of that building cleaned up very well.
That sounds good to me, because first, the picture we were showing, the drawing, it was just like a cover that was covered with the fence. You know, and everything else in view.
And that's the thing, the architect, he tried to do and make it look like that with awnings, and he put some metal screening on the two spots. He put a sign, and it's just, to me, I think the better choice is the screened in fence around that side. But again, it's up to you guys.
I think
I agree with you.
It's better than what's there at this point.
And if you think about what was there, a fitness club before we ever owned it, it was visible units. And we've paved a sidewalk back there, 8-foot walkway. Brand new all the way across the back. I feel like we've done whatever we could do besides those few things to get in compliance and do the right thing. I mean, we're doing everything we can to make it look good. That's just the final piece, in my opinion.
Well, and then the other area that leads into, I think, Greg, is the variance issue on the front. Is that accurate? And what about that?
Yeah, if any construction, well, fences are specifically exempt. If it is a fence is exempt from definition of a structure. But if there is any structure being built into a yard, then that would require a variance.
Another thing it would eliminate, just to give you guys something to think about, we are dealing with the gentleman next door to us. And even just yesterday, I had an electrician show up. He was new to the job. He parked first thing in the morning. I don't get there that early. He parked in his property. He was literally just barely on it, but he was still on his property. So I respect that. I try to tell everybody to stay off his property. He comes out there. He basically chews the guy out. The guy came to me upset a couple hours later when I showed up, and there was some bad words exchanged, and I'm ready just to kind of eliminate that. And I think the screening fence would then show that there is no choice to park on his property to then come into our building. It's trapped in, that would solve that issue as well, which is an ongoing issue at this point, because he does want to sell that property to us and we don't want to buy it.
I would strongly encourage you to make sure you know where you're putting the fence.
It would be on that sidewalk way, which is it's on our property. It would be on the sidewalk that's back there. That's the line.
Both parties are clear on the
He's
property.
clear on the rear. We'd already be hearing about it.
And hey, Billy, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm not opposed at all to the fence idea. You all build great buildings. I mean, I've seen you all build nice buildings. If you, as you're designing the fence, will keep in mind that 1,000 people a day pull out of the Shell station and are looking at that and going into Calvert City. I would just ask you to design as nice of, I think you could do great things with a fence. Design a really, really nice
For my own
fence.
sake, because we do take pride in all of our facilities. If you go look at, we have 3 gyms, Murray, Mayfield. If you look at everything's plush, everything's nice.
Yeah.
We have some of the nicest gyms in the area, and everything we do, we want to do nice. So
I mean, I think you could do great things with a fence. I'm not at all opposed to that.
Around back there because it looks junky. I don't stay on that side much, but when I do drive from the gas station, I'm like, man, we got to do something about that. I think that would be a perfect solution.
So you guys feel like a fence that runs the full length of that western boundary would be something that you all would be okay with?
I think that depends on the fence, but like
Well,
I
I'm
said,
talking
if
about
it's
a 6 or 8 foot privacy fence that covers, most of that. That's what I'm thinking. That's what you propose.
It's just like the
next
dumpster.
meeting, we have to drawing with the dimensions.
And if you wanted to look at it, you can look at the dumpster pad fence. It's already up. And if you like that, that's what it'll be. It can just be
So that's
taller.
a chain link with slats in it. So if you want something other than that, I would suggest that you make a note of that now.
yeah, and I mean, just how could you design a really, really nice fence there that's doesn't even look, I don't know, it could look like the front of a building. Who the hell knows? But I mean, I think that I'm not at all opposed to the fence idea if it's done properly and just it helps aesthetics. That's all.
Jim, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the drawing that you had, but
The
it's more like a
fence,
wall.
I don't think we have discussed the fence before.
We kind of deviated to that at this point.
Well, that takes me on the fence, yes. I thought that the one standing point, on it, Biggie was, to have that freezers or compressors.
Yeah, I think they're talking about 6 to 8 foot, somewhere in that 8 foot fence or something like 6 foot fence. But I think you're gonna need a privacy fence, and I don't know for that purpose. Is that what you're thinking?
Privacy fence for what purpose?
across that side. Is that what you're talking
That's
about?
what he's talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm assuming, but I just want to make sure that you guys
No, I
are on the
know
same
about
page.
Right. He
Oh, well,
said-
okay, you're back, I'm sorry, you're back on the backside, the other side, okay, all right.
No,
Well, he
I mean,
says-
and I could see guys where that would be a nice welcome to Calvert City sign on that fence or something like, and it really could improve the aesthetics of it if it's done correctly.
I'd like to note right here that the problem is in 30 days, you guys have to make a final decision. And so if we're going to look at several different iterations of a potential fence, there's no time to do that. So before you guys have to make a decision. And so if there's going to be, I mean, this is the first we've heard of a fence. So if there's a fence that's going to be proposed, that probably needs to be drawn up with some significant specificity and at least distributed among you guys within the next week.
As soon as
If
possible.
there- well, because you guys are going to have to approve the whole shooting match. And we need for, before the next city council meeting, we need for a representative from MegaFit and the mayor to get together so that the mayor can propose an encroachment agreement so that the city council can approve that encroachment agreement at the next city council meeting, which is on the 14th of November. So our timeframes, I mean, we're now down to the last 30 days. And we're looking at new proposals. And so I just want you guys to keep in mind that whatever it is that you decide to do, you've got about 30 days to get the job done.
And I was going to ask John, do you know if anybody's got with mayor about encroachment? I know Greg's been in and out of town and stuff, but has that made any progress?
We've already talked about it, and the mayor's okay with it, and we talked to the fire department was okay with it.
But someone's got to actually, an attorney for MegaFit needs to contact me so that we can iron out the details and get in a temporary encroachment agreement drafted so that we can present it to the city council for approval or disapproval. And that's one of those things that we don't have a lot of time to talk about, but MegaFit needs to be the protagonist on that and have someone contact me in order to try to get that drafted.
And that's the city council's the 14th.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, well, I mean, we've got it set to put it on the council's agenda for that night. But we do need them to have council meet with you to get something drafted.
Right.
Okay. All right. We have an in-depth conversation with Mr. Dietz about what they're gonna need within the next week or so we could get it distributed to you guys for comment.
Yeah, if he's going to try to get creative with a fence along that front, fence along the front of the building, it's going to have to be pretty detailed in order to give this body something to look at. Because you are establishing a precedent of a fence along the front of a building. So you got to be careful.
That's a very valid point, Greg. And one I think that we as a board all need to keep in mind is setting precedents.
What's next on your bullets?
You got them. You want me to do them, Darren, or you got it?
Yeah, keep going with the bullets and see where we're at.
Okay. Well, hang on a second. My phone just, uh-oh. Hang on, my phone is not behaving itself. Let me pull it back up.
I really think that all of the next issues, it included depiction of the aesthetics again, any setbacks or variances regarding that, and we eliminate that by going through a fence. You had a note about fence verification and door location, but the door again is
That's-
eliminated by
Change.
switching to a fence. I think most everything else, from what trees down through door location, is all about the look of
Right.
the sign.
Yeah, real quickly, the last four items were more specific aesthetics depicted for the front of the building, whether it's a fence or whatever it is. Setbacks indicated, all parts of the construction, or all parts of the structure. Fence verification and door location. Those were the only other items.
So my only question, Greg, there is even with a fence, would there be setback issues?
No, if a fence is all we're talking about, then no, fences are specifically exempted from setbacks.
Okay.
So let me go back over this real quick. We need to make sure we've got the encroachment permit approved by council. That means that they have to have someone in legal meet with Greg to draft up the encroachment permit to be presented to the council on the 14th. So they've got to do that pretty quick. The elevations for the fence around the dumpster and the dimensions. Basically, we're needing a complete site plan with elevations anywhere like the fence around showing the fence around the dumpster along the front, and then the enclosure that's going over the refrigerator boxes. Is that correct? Did I miss anything, Greg?
That sounds right. The biggest issues with the original application were the lack of specificity with regard to the aesthetic depiction of the structure. It was just sort of sketches with no distances and no detail on the aesthetics. So if these guys could get that within the next week, then that would at least give them time to know if they need to call a quick special call meeting to meet with MegaFed in order to discuss some problem that they've got with the presentation. That would give them a tiny bit of time to address that. Whereas if we wait until the last, week before the meeting, there's just no time. Because cities can't have meetings whenever they want to. You gotta have notices.
We have a special call meeting next Tuesday, in which we have,
I mean, that may be very hard, Billy, but we do actually have a special call meeting next Tuesday. If any of the people can get even a little bit of something, then that's already
I
scheduled.
can have it done by then.
so, I mean, that's just, and we can add that to the agenda. I mean, we've sent out today, you get all your packets with all the different applications for it, but we can actually add to that agenda, which goes out Friday. Actually, it can go out Monday morning, but if you can get something to Crystal by Friday evening or first thing Monday morning, we'll know to add that. Well, yeah, and I'll talk with Bobby about what we need from him for you as far as site plan and then the elevations. But you need to make sure you've got hold of somebody in legal, an attorney or someone to talk to Greg, make sure we get the approach.
Okay,
Okay?
I'll have somebody.
All right.
All right, we'll shoot for Tuesday.
Okay.
But just so we're clear, the fence on that side, if I work on that, that's a go for you guys. Y'all feel okay with that?
The fence and the building surrounding the.
And then we should be good to go.
It looks like you're getting to where everybody's coming to a point that they can work with.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys being patient with us. I'll see you next time.
And hey, Billy, I know this is a pain in the butt, but we appreciate everything you're doing too.
Hey, at the end of the day, y'all want everything to look good, and we do too. We just haven't done it because we're busy and, there's a million things going on, and, we want the same thing you guys. We want the surroundings of our building to be respectable and very nice. And so it's all, we gotta do what we gotta do. So, whatever you guys need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
business?
That's all I've got, sir.
All right. That brings us to adjournment. Let's see if that says something. Greg, you got anything?
I don't think so.
Lily?
Really?
I'm good. I'll see you all on Tuesday.
I'll make the
Get
motion to
better.
adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.